Bilingual arrangements, flexible, convergent. So this is an introductory module that talks about another bilingual arrangement that relates to flexible convergent programs. What are flexible convergent programs, or what is flexible convergence? What happens is that we use flexibly different languages, but we use them in a way that the aim of that language use of two languages is to lead towards a language shift. More often than not, it happens, for instance, in Pakistani schools. Look at the private schools. So when they're teaching a content in English, they might code switch to Urdu, but the point of this code switching is somehow to gear these students towards English medium of proficiency, English medium instruction, and they need them to sort of like develop English language skills at the expense of their Urdu or their regional language skills. Now, this might not be the overt aim or the explicit aim of the educational institutions, and they might even deny it. But coming back to it, think about the time when you force your students to speak only in English, and you constantly gear them towards the use of only one language, and you allow Urdu only, or the vernacular only, until they are ready to take on English language. Perfectly all right, but we just need to know what we are doing. This definitely leads towards what we call subtractive bilingualism. That is, there occurs a language shift where more and more people want their children to learn English language at the expense of their regional languages, or the Urdu language at the expense of their, again, home languages. And this comes when, at a time, it also has this repercussions for homes also, where parents also stop talking to their children in the vernacular because they want their children to succeed in schools. So as I said, it's quite common across the world and across Pakistan also, more so in immigrant situations where the primary aim of bilingual education at times is also to flexibly lead them towards convergence of language so that they make a shift towards their home language to the majority language of the country in which they are living. Now, flexible use of languages in classrooms is under-researched, and there is a lot of work that needs to be done regarding its benefits. But having said that, we must remind ourselves that more often than not, it is used in bilingual classrooms. And when I say bilingual classrooms, I mean bilingual context. That is, when the students are there and they know language other than the language that is being used, even in immersion programs, this kind of flexibility will emerge. And at times, there can be an institutional goal of supporting the students in their own language until they are ready to take the majority language. So somehow this reflects what happens in real-life society, because this is exactly the kind of trans-languaging, this shifting from one language to the other that happens in real-life situations. So we try to make a classroom a place where it reflects the socio-cultural environment. Having said that, this is highly stigmatized, and this use of language, this natural translanguaging in the classroom is highly stigmatized because it is argued that this allows the student to learn the languages appropriately. So they constantly rely on one language and then shift to the other language rather than trying to actually think about the use of the majority language that they aim to learn. Flexible convergence programs have two patterns. It's based on random code switching, that is, the teacher might code switch randomly without thinking why she is doing it, without thinking when she is doing it, or whether it is benefiting the students or not. This use is only random. It is intuitively, it might be based on the needs of the teacher herself. When she herself can't come up with a word that she wants to sort of explain to the child, and it might be pupil-centered or learner-centered when the teacher responds to the needs of the learners. And the other pattern is that of monoliterate bilingualism, and we'll talk about these two different patterns in the coming modules.